I'm a modern conservative, and for the most part, I don't care what you do with your life as long as it doesn't affect me or my children. As long as you're not a child molester or a serial killer, you be you over there, all right, in your own space. And I'll be over here, being me, in my own space. It's that simple. But when you come into my space and tell me I can't be me anymore and I now have to be you, and you tell my children they have to be you, well, bucko, we have problems. That's the simplest way to put it. They come after us. They come after our children. They need us all in on their wicked, evil ideology. They need us all to be the same. And the only way to do that is to keep us stupid. To keep us stupid. That's what equity was invented for. So for a sample of what's to come across the U.S., we go to Bill de Blasio in what was once the great city of New York. Check out this article from the Epic Times by Tom Ozimek, NYC, to cancel accelerated learning program for gifted kids. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio has announced plans to cancel the Gifted and Talented Accelerated Learning Program for school children, drawing praise from those who called the scheme discriminatory and condemnation from those who say it harms hardworking students. Starting next fall, New York City will stop testing kindergartners for entry into the Gifted and Talented program, which was the subject of a lawsuit that claimed the screens were racially discriminatory and fueled racial segregation in the school system. The era of judging 4-year-olds based on a single test is over, de Blasio said in an October 8th statement. Every New York City child deserves to reach their full potential, and this new equitable, remember that word, folks, equitable model gives them that chance. The Gifted program, which faced criticism for enrolling low numbers of Black and Latino students, will instead be replaced with a new framework called Brilliant NYC. Ooh, that will leave students identified for accelerated instruction in mixed classrooms, but it will provide them with extra attention. I wonder what that will look like. During an appearance on WNYC on October 8th with school's Chancellor Maisha Porter, de Blasio proclaimed all of this stuff. He promised that these students would get extra attention. And I don't know about you, but I am a product of public school, and there was no extra attention. And I doubt any extra attention to gifted kids under this program will not be beneficial to them. Quote, the kids who have those special abilities for accelerated learning will be getting a lot of attention, I'm sure, a lot of opportunity to do it. But they'll be learning with all the other kids, de Blasio said, adding that Brilliant NYC scheme would reach tens of thousands of more kids with accelerated learning. In fact, I think it's going to cause horrible bullying. But that's just my opinion. Porter said that under the new program, teachers would be provided with additional training to identify special ability learners and provide them with targeted, individualized instruction. A parent calling into the WNYC praised the move, saying the Gifted program created a two-tiered world that I think needs to go. See, the Democrats, the leftists, the liberals, they sell these common people. They sell the uninformed voter, the Democrat voter. They sell them this world, this critical race broken world where there's some double system out there. But the truth is that that's all BS. It's all a lie. But the people still drink it up. They still vote for Democrats. They still call in to WNYC praising the move, saying the Gifted program creates two-tiered worlds that need to go. Charlene Ang, a mother of a student enrolled in the Gifted program on the Upper West Side, admonished de Blasio's decision. It is abominable that de Blasio is, in his final months in office, dismantling one of the few successful education programs in New York City, adversely impacting a swath of children, she told the New York Post. De Blasio's nearly 8-year tenure as mayor ends in less than 3 months. Democrat candidate Eric Adams, who's widely expected to replace de Blasio, has proposed a different framework, with Chalkbeat reporting that he plans to keep the admissions test and expand the number of gifted classrooms across the city. Republican mayoral candidate Curtis Sliwa, something like that, who has vowed to fight to preserve the gifted and talented programs, criticized de Blasio's decision to phase out the current arrangement, citing a range of benefits and arguing it should not be diluted, nor should it be discontinued. The gifted program faced criticism for enrolling low numbers of Black and Latino students. According to Chalkbeat, a news organization that specializes in public education coverage, more than 70% of spots in the gifted program go to Asian Americans and white students, who make up less than a third of New York City's student population. Let me ask you a question. A, since when were Asian Americans not considered minorities? And B, if Asian Americans combined with white students make up 70% of the spots in the gifted program, but they make up less than a third of the entire population of New York City student population, tell me, who is actually in the minority? I'll give you a hint. All right? I'll give you a hint. Let me whisper it. It's the white and Asian folks. All right, now that that's been said, conservative commentator Ben Shapiro framed de Blasio's move as pushing mandatory mediocrity in a bid to force equality of outcome. Pursuing equity as the chief goal of policy means, in practical terms, pursuing equity of outcome through mandatory mediocrity. That's what Shapiro wrote in a tweet. Some Democrats also took aim at de Blasio's decision. That's interesting. That took me aback for a second. Some Democrats also took aim. Democrats usually don't attack each other, but as you've seen as of late, they have been. They've been imploding all across the country, and nothing is different in New York City, where it says some Democrats took aim at de Blasio's decision, with State Senator John Liu, who chairs a panel on New York City schools, taking to Twitter to express his displeasure. Gifted and talented programs have been an integral option for generations of school kids, Liu wrote in a tweet. Bill de Blasio promised intensive public school engagement about it, but now he wants total elimination. Public engagement, not public school engagement. Asked on the WNYC program about his message for parents who might choose to leave New York City public school system or the city entirely if the gifted program is done away with, de Blasio said, "I bet you a lot of parents are now going to look at this plan and say, this is the reason to stay." You know, this guy's a narcissist. He's crazy. He's out of his mind. He was literally dancing. He was dancing, right? Do you remember that? While everything was locked down, he's literally out of his mind. He thinks socialism is the cure for everything. He, like everybody else, he goes, oh, look, you're going to say my plan is great. Then he fails at a bunch of things. He keeps repeating himself, and he just hopes and bets that you're going to forget. Like a goldfish, you're going to forget his promises, forget his existence, and he can go on his merry way mucking up the country. Well, the city, at least, that he's in. Hopefully not the country. I know he had presidential prospects, and if that ever happens, I'm moving back to the Philippines, all right? Literally moving back to the Philippines. Let's keep reading. The gifted program would be phased out, with kids entering it between now and next year allowed to continue in it until completion. Porter said that parents still have an opportunity to provide feedback on the proposal, which still may be tweaked, calling it a blueprint for the plan that we intend to implement and our vision for New York City, for the sewer that is New York City, the crime-infested sewer. All right, guys, listen, this is crazy. The whole thing is out of control. The city has fallen apart. Back before Giuliani was the mayor of New York City, all right, it was a crime-infested cesspool. And guess what? It's back to being a crime-infested cesspool, if not worse than it ever was before Rudy Giuliani cleaned it up. It says Heather Higgins, chair of the Independent Women's Network, said in a tweet, Bill de Blasio's latest plan to harm hardworking students and parents, ending New York City's Accelerated Gifted and Talented program, is only viewed as a good idea by the stupid, by the jealous, and by the vindictive. Remember, I told you earlier what equity is: harming others, taking away from others to benefit somebody else. All right. Nobody earns anything. Nobody tries hard. You're just taking from somebody and giving to somebody else. All right. That is the person who gets hurt, you and me. All right. Some things in life just aren't fair. And Bill de Blasio thinks he can make it fair for everybody by ruining the opportunities for our children and brainwashing them to be socialists. So now that you know that it's racist and unfair for our kids to be smart, I have to warn you, the rest of the show is a little bit infuriating. So prepare yourself.